What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Okay, he's done it. He's done it. Donald Trump has started to bomb Iran. We're now at a war with Iran. The United States of Israel has now attacked Iran. Now, I need you guys to understand that this was always going to happen. All right? This was never not going to happen. The negotiations were a farce, just like the negotiations between the Russians and the Ukrainians was a farce. Israel, this is Israel's war. Israel needs us to do this before Donald Trump becomes a lame duck president. The fact that Donald Trump is becoming a lame duck president as soon as these midterms are coming up means that everybody that's using this inept neo-Nazi narcissistic president as a tool for their own personal agenda is going to activate any plan that they got before this guy loses power. Because once the midterms happens and the Democrats take control of the House and maybe the Senate, Donald Trump won't be able to do anything. He'll be a lame duck, meaning he doesn't have any power because he can't legislate, because he doesn't have enough of his own senators and congressmen to do anything, right? And then when he does an executive order, those things can be stopped by the House and the Senate, right? So right now, Benjamin Netanyahu, the war criminal, right? He is currently making sure that before all that happens, that they go ahead and do what it is that Israel has been trying to get America to do for 30, 40, 50, 60 years now. Okay, but finally to have a president who's in the White House who's so weak, inept, and oblivious that they can get away with it. Because never in the history of America has there been a government, a foreign government controlling America the way it is right now, which everybody's interest within the United States government has a foreign apparatus to it. Like they're all foreigners. None of these people are foundational to the country. They're not heritage Americans. These are foreign European Nazis that run America right now. And currently they're linked up with their brethren, the Israelis, to finish genocide in the Palestinians and to destabilize Iran under the guise of regime change. I want you guys to pay attention to this. America is saying, right, just this dominant white Western power saying that this country over here is not allowed to have self-determination, not allowed to govern their own selves, and that we are going to bomb them and destroy their current government in order for opposition groups to take advantage of it to start a civil war, to take over the country that will clearly destabilize the country, introduce different factions, destabilize the current government, and allow all the Western governments to use their proxies within the chaos to keep Iran destabilized for an indefinite amount of time, meaning the government is no longer a threat to anyone. By doing that, the white Western world, Israel and America, they will infiltrate using their own politicians that they have sanctioned that will commit to the interest of greater Israel and the U.S., and they will put them in power via democracy. They will back them, finance them, and arm the rebels that protect them. This is how it works. So if you want to know how black people ended up in America, how did the Europeans go into Africa? They did this. They went over there. They went to one of the great kingdoms, right? They saw what they were doing to the smaller groups, and they empowered the smaller groups, right? And they disrupted the bigger groups, and they caused chaos and division. That's what happens when you delineate. They're trying to get the Iranians to delineate from other Iranians because they have their own in-house grievances. Now, am I saying the Iranian government is good? No. Am I saying the Ayatollah is good? No. Am I saying their governmental system is great? No. Am I saying that the people don't need a revolution in Iran? No, I'm not saying that, because they do. But the fact that there's a sentiment in Iran that their revolution is necessary, the white Western world is taking advantage of that for their own purposes, not for the purposes of the actual people of Iran. As you can see, anytime America goes and does regime change to give the government back to the people, it doesn't ever end up that way, because that's not the true purpose. All right, but anyway, without further ado, let's take a look at that. I told you this was going to happen. I said as soon as the hard stuff come out with the Jeffrey Epstein, he was going to go to a war with Iran. Because this is going to be a story that the news networks can take and run with, because he'll be bombing places, people will be getting killed. I mean, it's a big story, right? And hopefully for him, the story is big enough to just delay that Epstein file thing. But the Jeffrey Epstein files are saying what they're saying. And it's just a matter of when is somebody gonna, when are enough people gonna have enough testicular fortitude to actually do something about it. So, but we'll find out. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. I'll keep you guys updated. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
rocked multiple cities across Iran, including its capital, Tehran. Videos from Tehran show smoke. You see it here billowing over the city. And now we're getting reports of explosions in Gulf Arab countries hosting U.S. military bases. Live look now at Abu Dhabi, where explosions were reported, in addition to Bahrain and Qatar. A video now of an explosion in Bahrain. Officials say a missile hit the service center of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet in the country. These strikes happen barely a day after the latest round of indirect nuclear talks between Iran and the U.S. And sources tell CNN the U.S. military is planning for these attacks to last for days. Israel said the same, and both President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are now calling for regime change.
To the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Yeah, Iran media reported just hours ago that Iran already launched dozens of ballistic missiles at Israel. And Qatari officials say that Qatar already intercepted 2 Iranian missiles, indicating Iran is carrying out that plan to retaliate. And our team is up and covering this breaking story from around the world. We'll get to Zach Cohen and Elena Treen in just a moment, but I want to start with CNN's Jeremy Diamond first. He's in Tel Aviv. Jeremy, have any of the Iron Dome intercepted any of those missiles? Is there a timing on when those might arrive?
Well, we certainly know that Iran has already fired a barrage of ballistic missiles at Israel. We had sirens going off not only here in Tel Aviv, but also in Jerusalem, in northern Israel, in southern Israel, pretty much Israelis everywhere across the country, millions heading to bomb shelters as those ballistic missiles came in. It does appear that there were several intercepts. We have not yet gotten reports of any actual impacts as a result of those ballistic missiles. But all of this kicked off this morning around 8:15 a.m. local time. Israelis were woken to the sound of sirens, not announcing incoming missiles, but rather alerting Israelis to this new state of emergency that is in place as Israel announced that it had struck targets in Iran. We then quickly learned that it was not just Israel, but that these are joint strikes carried out by the United States and the Israeli militaries, targeting a range of targets inside of Iran. I'm told that there were dozens of targets that were struck by both militaries. We have been watching, of course, for weeks now as the United States has been carrying out this enormous military buildup in the region, but simultaneously a diplomatic track was taking place. But this morning, that diplomatic track was completely cast aside in favor of this military action by the United States and Israel. We heard from President Trump making clear that this is not just about going after Iran's ballistic missile and nuclear programs, but setting the conditions for regime change. And we have heard similar comments as well from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. We know now that Israel is at a very heightened state of awareness. Most Israelis are either in their bomb shelters or very close by, awaiting the ramifications of this, as we are already watching Iran launch missiles not only here, but at other sites across the Middle East. Victor?
Jeremy Diamond for us there in Tel Aviv. We will get back to you in just a few moments. President Trump is monitoring the strikes from his Mar-a-Lago resort, and he calls on Iranians to stand up to their government and warns the fight could put American lives in danger. He also says the U.S. has done everything it can to keep American troops safe in the region. Earlier, President Trump explained the mission behind the operation.
Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries.
All right, let's bring in CNN's Elena Treen. She's reporting from Palm Beach, Florida. Elena, the president said on Friday that he was not happy with where the talks were with Iran, and now we're seeing the consequences of that.
Absolutely, and I think you're right to point out that the context of all of this is incredibly important. We had been hearing of Victor in recent days, really in the lead up until these strikes this morning, the president saying that he wanted diplomacy. He was hoping a deal could be reached. And from all the conversations I had with people at the White House, that was sincere. But of course, at the same time, you saw the Trump administration and the president directly order the most massive military buildup in the region since essentially the 2003 war with Iraq. And so that leverage was there. And I think a lot of people were waiting to see whether the president would move on that. And of course, he did. I also found it very remarkable just to see the president in that video statement giving it and releasing it on social media, having that be the way that he delivered it. But look, there's a couple things I took away, Victor, from those remarks from the president. One is that he said that this is going to be a massive and ongoing operations. And that comes as sources are telling our colleague Zach Cohen and I that the United States is planning for there to be several attacks or several days of attacks. So this is going to be a long operation and could ultimately be, the largest military operation the president has ever overseen, including during his first term. But another moment that I found very striking as well is that he essentially and effectively called for regime change in Iran. The president said in those remarks, quote, "When we are finished, take over your government." That was a message directly to the Iranian people. "It will be yours to take. This will probably be your only chance for generations." That is a huge statement, particularly as really over the past year or so, ever since the president went into office for his second term, all of his top advisors were trying not to say that directly. And even though the president didn't say it directly, he came as close as he ever really has to acknowledging that one of the goals in this larger operation is to potentially see if the Iranian people can use this weakened state that the regime now finds itself in to kind of overthrow and push against the government there. So that was a remarkable thing as well. I also think it's worth pointing out, and you mentioned this, Victor, just how disappointed and frustrated the president seemed yesterday when talking about the negotiations that were going on just 2 days ago in Geneva between the president's top advisors, Steve Witkoff, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, with the Iranians and intermediaries in Switzerland, saying that they did not go far enough. And what we know that the United States wanted from Iran was to, one, be very clear that they had no goals and did not want to ever make a nuclear weapon, and also that they would commit to zero enrichment of uranium, things that the president argued they were not able to get to. And so that is what's led us to this moment. But of course, so many big questions, I think, that many Americans still have about what the future of this is going to look like. And that has been a big struggle for a lot of people I know in the White House and the top levels of the administration. There are a lot of Americans and a lot of Republicans, I should say, many members of the Republicans base who do not want the United States involved in another foreign war, and particularly a protracted, long engagement. And we've actually heard some of that pushback from members of Congress this morning making that point. And so that is going to be a crucial thing that the president and this White House needs to do moving forward, is to articulate exactly what their goal is as we move ahead in the days ahead with these operations.
Yeah, we'll expect that the recorded message that the president posted will not be the last we hear from him on justification for these strikes, considering that his promise to the American people was that there would be no new wars ahead of his 2024 reelection. Elena Trine for us there near the president's resort in Florida. We'll get back to you. Thank you. And we're getting reports of dozens of explosions across the Gulf, including Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Qatar, all home to major U.S. bases. A senior official in Qatar says that the country intercepted 2 Iranian missiles fired toward its territory. Let's bring in now CNN's Zach Cohen. Zach, what have you learned?
Yeah, Victor, U.S. officials really only describing the retaliatory strikes by Iran as an active situation. But as you mentioned, it does appear that multiple U.S. bases in the region have been targeted in response to this ongoing U.S.-Israeli operation targeting the Iranian government, it seems. And look, this is a risk and a potential threat that Donald Trump was well aware of before he ordered this ongoing operation targeting Iran, which he says is intended to carry out effectively regime change or to facilitate regime change. He was very concerned about the potential risk to U.S. forces in the region, and he even alluded to that in his video message, saying and acknowledging in a very frank way that this operation could result in U.S. casualties. And we've reported previously that that was a major concern of Donald Trump's top general, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Dan Kane, that he voiced concerns about the potential for U.S. casualties ahead of this operation. But still, obviously, that concern not outweighing what Donald Trump says that he wants to carry out here, and that is to encourage the Iranian people to rise up and take back their government. But we've also reported that there is not really a clear indication inside the U.S. government of what would come next, even if they can successfully facilitate regime change in Iran. So while we know that this operation is expected to go on for several days, or at least the Israeli and U.S. sides are both planning and preparing for that possibility, what would happen after that is very, very unclear at this stage.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.